Good morning. Hi, everybody. Welcome to class. How you doing? Good morning, Cass. Hi, guys. So we are here, another math class, which is good. The sun was shining today. I almost had to put sunglasses on. That was kind of nice. Yeah. I don't know if any of you guys have looked outside yet. You probably, sorry. You guys are probably just like going, I'm just barely awake and just getting on there like that. So I'm just acknowledging who just arrived, so we're good there. Awesome. Good, you're staring out your window. That's nice. Well, you can't even talk. You got like nice weather over there. You had an early morning basketball practice. Holy cow. That's crazy. Where? Our KSS or what school? Okay, that's fine, Caitlin. That's totally cool. Awesome. That is all right, Em. Thank you for letting me know you're here because I wasn't quite sure if you were here yet. We're just missing a couple in Summerland. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, there's practice in Summerland. That's crazy. Happy birthday, Em. That's awesome. What are you going to do? You had your party on the weekend, didn't you, I believe, what you were saying. So that's good. I started reading your book. I was doing it while I was eating my lunch, and I only got like a little ways in, but I had to bike to my tutor's place every morning to watch my live lecture and stuff with Sean so we can always, gotcha. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. I love this picture. It's like, yeah, I woke up, it's Wednesday. It's a good day. So just reminders what's happening. Pottery was yesterday. And did any of you guys go to pottery at all? Oh, I'm going to, look what I'm doing, Merle. I'm recording. Yeah, that's what I do. Good, Em. How was it? What kind of math did you make? Did you make like a scary one or a fun one or one that looks like you or like an animal or just something? And then there's art lessons today and then the archery. So group 1 is this Friday, group 2 is next Friday, and then you both split on the 15th. It was fun, and I made a unicorn mask. Oh, I can't wait to see that. That's so awesome. That is so cool. Okay. Yeah. So today we're on a new unit. I know this is crazy. Believe it or not, guys, we have like a month and not even. I think we have like a month of classes left, which means we do 2.5-hour classes, which is like having math 2 times a week sort of thing. So we have, when we do 2.5, that's about 5 classes a week of math, 4 classes a week of math. So there's lots of math time technically there, but we're looking at about a month because we got half of December and then half of January. So probably maybe 5 weeks, something like that, and then all that stuff. So it's weird. I know. So hopefully you guys printed off some of that graph paper. I know I sent a message to everyone to do that. You will be needing it during the lessons. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff like that. We're into I love this unit. I love doing stuff called rise over run and slope y-intercept and everything. So you'll need to be doing that, and you'll need it for your work. Then starting next week, some of you guys thought it was this week, but it's next week that you're going to have the test from this unit we just finished, which is the relations, functions, domain and range, that sort of thing. Then you have 2 worksheets just to practice, do what you want to do, and then you got to hand one in, and we're going to have a quiz on Monday on some of the stuff from today. So we are plugging away, and like I said, my apologies, we just got to get through this stuff, and we have a timeline to do it, and believe it or not, there's quite a few units still left after this, but I'm going to do a fun couple, in 2 of the units we're going to do a couple fun things, so, but that's coming up a little later. So this is what I wanted you to print off, so make sure you guys have something like that ready to go, and if at least have some grid paper with you when you're doing your own work if you need to, but at least this has everything kind of set up, so when we're doing something quickly in the lesson, you don't have to worry about drawing the grids and putting numbers on and arrows and everything. So this is a little bit helpful that way. All right, so let's have a look at what we're doing. So does anyone have any questions from the last one, which is, it was our little short lesson where we were talking about function of x or g of x, f of x. Any questions on any of that stuff? Now your learning guide is due today. So we ended class on Monday at 10. So technically there was that hour and a half of class time, plus you always have to put in obviously more effort on Monday, and then you had Tuesday. So you had a few days to get that done. Yeah, so just try your best to get that in as soon as possible. And then, yeah, the test. So this is the last of the unit there we're just going to look at. Any questions? You guys are silent. Anything? Okay. Good. Okay. I know we move fast, so I just want to make sure I'm giving you guys a chance to do this. So, like I said, this next unit we're doing it's really fun. I love doing slope intercept and doing rise over run and doing those sorts of things. It's a really neat unit. The unit we just did is sort of, it's not that it's not fun, but it's kind of la 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 la. It's like, oh, what's the domain and range, and is this a function, not a function? So it wasn't like overly kind of trying to do some neat things and figuring things out. So this one gets us to do that, which is really neat. All right. So, and again, remember, guys, I always keep telling you if you need me to stop for a second, and some of you guys are really starting to take advantage of that, saying that, hey, can you just go back to that slide, or can you give me a second, and we can do that. So. The one thing I do need to say is some of you, I don't know the quality of your notes you're taking, but please make sure you are taking good notes. What is really nice, and I had a talk with a mom yesterday, they said that they, after the recording gets posted, they go through and they can pause it, which is really good. So try to take the best notes you can as we go through, and then watch the lesson again and pause it and see what I did and rewind it and write down some notes and do it that way. So that's a really, really good strategy, and it's an advantage that you guys have that other classes don't, right? At the same time, I get to see when I'm teaching the kids in the classroom, I can see what they're doing, I can pause and stop and do that. So it's kind of a give and a take. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Yeah, your mom came in. All right, so we are on what is slope, but I got a joke for you. You guys ready? I heard this, okay. You know you shouldn't fart in an Apple store. It doesn't have windows. You guys get it? Okay, so that was my joke. I think I saw it on Facebook or something stupid. So anyways, I thought that was cute. Okay, that is fun stuff. Okay. So we're going to look at slope, and this is going to allow us, oh, you got it, Caitlin, good. It's going to talk to us about how we can figure out lines and what angle they're at, and then be able to draw them without having to make a table of values and stuff like that. So it's good. So we're going to just do a little bit of definitions here. And I'm going to pull this closer, and then I'm going to put that down. So I think that's better here. So slope is measure of steepness. Okay, so you guys, I'm 100% positive you guys know what slope is in terms of like when you're thinking about snowboarding or skiing or something like that, slope of a hill, mountain, you know, that sort of thing. So same thing, means the same thing in math. Now, slope in math has a little bit of a formula with it, and this is rise over run, and you'll be using that, and that will be like tattooed in your brain. Rise over run is slope. Like it's going to be something that you're going to use so much and say so much that it becomes just a phrase that you have. It's going to be in your head for a couple of years. So that's something called rise over run, and that's how you determine what the slope is. So as soon as you can tell how much something goes up, and how much run means kind of, if you're running, you're kind of going on a flat surface like this, well, usually flat. So it's kind of how much it goes up and how much it goes to the side. So that's what rise over run is. So I'm going to show you a picture example. So let's see here. Let's make it like this. And then I'm going to do that. And we're going to do that. And this is just going to be like a ramp or something like that, whatever you want to use. Oh yeah, unless I say don't write this down, you guys are doing everything we're doing here, okay? These are always the notes I want you taking. Everything I say is important. Everything. You have to take everything down. Okay, just kidding. So what this would be is from here to here is what we would call the rise. So it's the up and down part of it. And in this case, the rise is 3 in this example. And then we have, oh, I did blue already. And then from here, all the way to here is the run. So it's how much you're running to the side. And in this case, run equals 8. Okay? So all you have to do is know how much something goes up and how much something goes to the left or right or whatever it is, and that's your rise or run, which will help you get your slope. Okay? So if you need to, this is kind of, I'm going to say it's the vertical, or the up or down, if that helps you understand what rise is. And then if you need to help with this, this is the horizontal, and this is side to side, or left, right, or whatever you want to put there. That's really fine. Okay? So in this case, what would be the slope of this ramp? If we were to decide what the actual slope of this ramp was, what would we say that would be? Yeah, perfect. It would be 3/8. So in this one, it would be slope equals, and it's rise over run. I'm just going to do this so you can understand where did you get 3/8? It's because I'm putting, oh, that's slope. I'm putting it into this formula in a way. And so that would become 3/8. Okay? So that's the base understanding of a slope that you guys need to know. And from there, it's going to just be so all these different cases where it's not going to be as easy just going, oh, it's 3/8, right? Okay. So everyone good with that? Nope. Slope. So if I was to now, so let's say I don't have the graph there. I can't really cover it up on here. But let's say I don't have that picture there and I just see something that says, I want you to draw me a ramp that has a slope of 3/8. All I would have to do is have a point and go up 3/8, up 3/8, and that would be the slope of it. So it's not like when we were doing trigonometry where you would take that divide and get the slope, because trig, the only reason we were dividing was to find using that trig formula. So, okay, so that's why you don't do a division. It's just literally saying how much am I rising, how much am I running. We don't need to divide that. So, yeah. Okay, are we good, Alexis? Good. Okay, so now we're going to look at slope of a line. So what I'm going to do is, I need you guys to draw this, so take out one of your graph sheets, and you're going to do this with me, and I'm going to do it red so that you can see it quite nicely on the black there. So what I'm going to do is draw a couple lines, and we're going to work through and figure out the rise and run or the slope. So, so these numbers are kind of where these dots are, so those are where the 5s and negative 5s are. So the first point I want you to do is going to be 2, 5, 6, 2 and 8. So I want you to go to 2, 6, 7, 8 and put 1 there. So I want you to put 1 at 2 and, oh sorry, negative 2. My bad, sorry. Negative 2 and 8. That's going to be hard to see there, but hopefully you can. Okay. Hopefully you guys get that. I like the positive attitude, you ladies. That's awesome. And then this one, I want you to go to negative 7 and negative 1. So negative 7, negative 1. So negative 7 and negative 1. Okay? So all I want you to do is just connect the points like so. And there's our first line. And when you're figuring out rise over run, you really, all you have to do is count how much it rises and how much it runs. That's it. So let's look at this one. So if we went how much it rises, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to call this line AB. Let's call this line AB. So the slope of AB is it rises 9 and it's going upwards, so we're calling that positive. So we're going more from owing money to getting money or have oh, chocolate, and now this is how much chocolate I have. So we're going from the bottom to the top kind of thing. And then running, because we're running from the negative side to the positive side, it's going to be a positive. And so we're going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the slope of this line is 9 over 5. So if I wanted to do another point on this line, I would go up 9 over 5, put a dot there. Up 9 over 5, put a dot there, and then I'm able to make the line longer, and I know where there are more points on the line. Okay? Now the question would be, well, what happens if we went the other way? So let's say, for example, I'm going to use, I guess, my gray, just so you guys can see this. So some of you guys are going, well, what happens if I did the run first, and or if I started at A? Because here, Miss Mackey started at B. So this one I'm just going to put in brackets. Let's do this one. Started at B. So what I did was I started at B and I went up and over. So now some of you guys are going, well, what happens if we start at A? Because it's going to make a little bit of a difference. Well, let's do it this way. So if I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's 9, but I'm going down. So it's like a negative 9. And then when I run negative 5. But guess what? Remember from math forever ago that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So these actually turn into 9 over 5, and it's the same answer. Okay? So it does not matter if you start at A and go to B, or if you go to B and go to A. It doesn't matter. You're still going to get the same rise or a run. It's just one step has negatives, and you have to remove the negatives and stuff like that. Okay? So any questions on that guy? We're going to do one more rise over run for that. Yeah, I'm going to stay on this page. Yeah. Now, the gray stuff that I did, you don't necessarily have to record down. Just understand you can start on any point. It doesn't matter. That's kind of just the thing I was trying to point out for you. Okay, so I'm going to draw another line. And I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to do this one in blue. Hopefully you can see this okay. I want you to go 1, 2, I want you to go to 3 and 1. So 1, 2, 3 and 1. We're going to call that C. And then I want you to go 7 and 1, 2, 3, 7 and 9. And 1, 2, 3, 4 and 7. So down here, 7 and 9. Okay, and then connect the lines with a nice, perfectly straight line. Okay, so this one, what did I say this was? 3 and 1. And this is 7 and 9. There we go. Oh yeah, sorry. Yep, you're right. Sorry, negative 9. Good catch, Sean. Yeah. You win a virtual candy. Virtual candy. Okay. So, exact same thing. I'm just going to erase the stuff in gray here in this because you guys should have got that right now. I don't need that right now. So now, same thing. It doesn't matter what point I start at. It's going to get the same slope. So I'm going to do slope of CD. Mine's a candy. It's not a cookie. You guys get to like choose a candy. Okay. So this one I'm going to start at C. Doesn't matter. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to do negative 10. I'm just going to show you guys how this goes. And then over is 1, 2, 3, 4, and that would be going to the positive. So this one actually is that way. You always reduce, okay? So this would turn out to be slope of CD is negative 5 over 2. You always reduce. Fractions are always reduced, even when it's a slope, okay? It doesn't matter if I do negative 5 over 2 or negative 10 over 4. You're still going to get some points. This just gives you a few more along the line. How can I show you this visually? Let's see. So this one here, if I went negative 5 and 2, so I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and I would, like, if I drew my line straight, it would be there, right? And then you do another one, it gets it here. Then I can go rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and have one here. So I have a little bit of smaller points on the line. So I would have this guy here, and then I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So when you have it this way, you're putting a little bit more points on the line. If I didn't do that, I would go 10. I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that puts me there. So if you can just go a little bit down, sorry, yeah. So what happened is by using this one, it just means I'm putting an intermittent point between, and this one just means I just have bigger gaps between each point. All right, same thing, just like it's an equivalent fraction, same thing, but you always reduce stuff. Okay. All right, how are we with that? Okay. So there is something, if you look at this one here, if you look at C and D, if you look at C and D right here, it is technically a negative slope because it is going down like this, and even though it's going kind of more on the positive side of the x, it's still going down, and they call that a negative slope. This guy here is going up, and it's called a positive slope. And notice, I don't know if you guys noticed that I'm able to go up and down with my slope. So this one, even though this guy even though this guy right here is a positive slope, I can still go down that way. So instead of going up 9 over 5, up 9 over 5, I could go down 9 over 5, and I get my next point. So you can continue it. You just have to do the opposite and kind of shift it to keep the line going the way it is. So hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, good stuff. Okay. Good to move? Good to move, good to move. All right. So determining the length of the line, we just sort of went over that, so I'm not going to do too much of that, but I am going to show you this. So let's say I had something like this, and it starts here, and let's say this point is 2, 3, and I didn't give myself a grid here, so we're just going to draw it in, and this is 9, 3. So this is our line. So the other way you can do it, so and this is actually good that I don't have a grid, because in this last one, I'm just going to flip back for a second. This one you guys could count, right? You find where it crosses a line. So you find where it crosses, oopsies, I meant to hit that. You find where it crosses a line there, crosses a line there, so where it's at the vertices, and then you count up and count side, and you figure out the slope. But if you get, let's say you get my horrible drawing like this, and you're like, well, I can't really count, maybe there's no coordinate, it's hard to see, or you're just told coordinates and there's no graph. The other way you can do this is you subtract them. So if I was doing this, I would go, so if I'm looking at the x values, I would go 9 subtract 2 equals 7. Okay? So that would be 7 units or whatever you're talking about. And then the y would be 3 minus 3, which is 0. Okay? So when you're looking at something like that, that would be, oh, sorry, no, take that off, sorry. So that's that, and then if I had, so that's calculating kind of the run part. Then, let's do this color, let's say I have this point going down like this, and I was at 12 and 1. Sorry, I know it doesn't match up, I'm just writing stuff down here for you. And this is 12 and negative 4. And what I'm trying to do is figure out the rise. You take the y value, because remember, run is going across the x, so run is always x. So I'll say this is always run, it's always x. Oh no. Hopefully it comes up soon, Jocelyn. And then always, this is always, the rise is going up vertically on the y, okay? So in this case, these are our y values, right? So what we would do is just do subtraction as well for that. We would go 1 minus negative 4, and remember how you do this. You change subtraction to addition, and you change the sign to the opposite, so y equals 5. So this kind of gives you the rise over run that way. So the other way that you can calculate rise over run besides looking at the graph and counting is you actually take the 2 points and subtract the x and x and subtract the y and y, and that will give you your rise over run. And then that would be the slope, if that's what we did. That would be the slope. Okay, and so then you would have slope equals 5/7. All right, so how was understanding kind of the rise and run and figure things out? Yeah, sorry, I started doing y, but then I forgot it's rise, so I just deleted that, yeah. You cross that out. Okay. Okay, so we're good, rise over run, we got it, x and y, good. Okay. You guys are like bouncing out all over the place. Everyone's like in and out all over. Okay. So I'm going to leave that here and I'm going to get you guys, we're going to do one together. Can I move over? I did. Okay. So we're going to do this one together. So we're going to draw this and we're going to find the rise and run of these lines just to have a little bit of practice. Okay. So I didn't write down the coordinates, so I have to actually like try to figure out where it is. So we are going to do a -4 and a 7. -4 and 7. You see why I told you guys to print off lots of graphs? So -4 and 7. And we're going to call that one A. And then the other one is -6, -7. -9 and -2. 9 and 2, we're going to call that one B, and -9 and -2. Okay, and then connect your line. So, oh, that was not bad. A little jiggly. It's so hard to write like this. Okay, so let's figure out, I'm not going to draw all three at the same time. Let's figure out the slope, slope of AB. So if you remember, it's rise over run. So you have two ways of doing this. You can count and do it that way, or you can do the subtraction method. So I don't care which way you want to do it. I don't feel like counting, so I'm going to do the subtraction method. So I'm going to take, so rise is always the y. So I'm going to go 7 subtract -2 over -4 subtract -9. And you're welcome to do the counting method as well. I'm just going to get you guys practicing this just so sometimes there's no graphs. So when I do this, I'm just going to show you the long way. You get 7 plus 2 when you do all the switches, and here you get -4 plus 9. So the rise over run is 9/5. So you guys should have had that if you counted or didn't count. So you should have the slope of AB as 9/5. Okay. Now, like I said, if you counted, that's totally fine. I'll do the next one counting. Yeah, I'll do the next one counting. So now I want you to draw -1 and 4. -1 and 4. We're going to call that C. And I'm going to do -1. Trying to make it so you guys can see that, okay? -1 and 4. And then D is going to be 5 and -6. So this is D, and this is going to be 5 and -6. Can't catch me this time, Sean, I got it. And then you're going to draw a line going all the way down. So this one, what I'm going to do is count, okay? So we're going to find, just one second, I'm just going to erase this work here and just put 9/5 just so I can get my space back here. Okay, so blue, so we're going to find the slope of CD. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9. Where am I? Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. Yeah, thank you. And that's a negative because we're going down, right? And then we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, is that the wind? Oh, it's a furnace. Holy man, the whole place just like crack on. It's like that's what my place sounds like when there's a wind. It makes everything kind of move and crack and stuff. Okay, so that's scary when it makes that noise for the furnace. That means the furnace is really interesting. Okay, what's wrong with this fraction? What is wrong with this fraction? What do I got to do? He actually runs all of the technical stuff. So he's watching the whole entire thing. He is just loving this math. He does this. This is like his 4th year doing this or something. He can't get enough of it. So no, he's the one that makes the screen go big, makes me small, makes me disappear, makes him zoom. He does all that stuff, so which is really cool. He puts the timer on and everything. Yes, it can be reduced. Thanks, guys. So this actually becomes, if we divide both by 2, it becomes -5/3. So that would be your true answer. If you wrote it the other way, it wouldn't be correct. Yes. Okay. And then we're going to do one more line. One more line. We're going to do, this one is going to be at 7 and 1, 2, 3, 9. So 7 and 9. 7, 5, 6, 7, and 9, which I think is right here. Oopsies, don't do that. We're going to call that E for excellent, and that's going to be 7 and 9. Good. And then the other one is going to be 7 and -1. So 7 and -1, and that's going to be F for fabulous. So I want a couple comments here from you guys. What are you guys noticing about the slope of this line? If you were to look to E and F, well, how would you describe the slope of this line? Without even doing any math or anything like that, how would you describe it? Straight? Good. How else would you describe it? Vertical, good. How else could you describe it? What else would you be able to say for this? Oops, you can't say oops. That doesn't describe the line. Non-linear, okay, it is still a line, right? It's still a line, so it's still linear. Maybe not a function. Yes, I think you're on the right track there, Alexa. I think that's what you're doing. Yeah, there you go, perfect. So what happens here, a slope means, like think of if you're walking on a totally flat road, is there a slope? If I'm doing this, is there a slope? No, there's absolutely no slope. As soon as there's like a 0.1 of something or whatever, and there's a slight, then that's where you get that slope from. Now, if I'm up and down, guess what? This is something that's called, actually, I'll tell you that in a second. So slope of EF, I'll tell you that little part in a second. So, right, slope of EF. So this one, you can do the subtraction method just because I'm out of space. I'm just going to do it this way. So when we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it would be -10. And we don't go anywhere. Does anyone know what happens on your calculator if you type in something divided by 0? What does it say in your calculator? If you up and down, then you're doing, yes, you're doing rock climbing, yeah. It says error, because you cannot divide anything by 0. It's impossible. If you have nothing, how can you take that nothing and divide it to something? Like, it makes no sense. If you have nothing, you can't take it, you can't do anything with it, right? That's why it's like error. So what this is called, I'm going to do it in capitals, undefined. This means that you can't say there's a slope of 0, because that's not true. Slope of 0 would be when we're walking flat on the ground. That would be there is 0 slope. 0 slope, we're not inclining at all. You can't say 0 slope for this because that means you're comparing it to this, and those are two different things. So it means it's just undefined. It can't happen. Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, so that is when it's a vertical line, undefined, and I'm just going to put in brackets vertical, like some of you guys said, line. That says vertical. I'm going to make that a little nicer. Okay, so if it is a straight up and down line, their slope is undefined. There is no slope. Can't happen. Can't divide by 0. All right. How are we doing with this, Sean? Are you ready for me? Can I move on at all? So I got the song. I watched a movie on the weekend. I was telling Magical Merle this, and it had Pocket Full of Sunshine song in it. And I'm not kidding you, it's been in my head since Saturday. So I got a pocket full of sunshine. So when I'm sitting here, it's seriously playing in my head this whole time. While you guys, I'm waiting for you. I'm like, yeah. So I'm gonna get it in your head, Magical Merle. I know, that's his new name. I know, you guys are gonna be singing it. Every once in a while, I'll just start saying the words for you, just to make sure you're good. Yeah, it was. Yeah. All right, I'm moving on, Sean. Okay. So I'm going to show you a couple different types of slope because I just showed you one. So all you have to do, you don't need to have a grid paper for this one. We're just going to quickly draw this. Draw 4 of these. That's all I need you to do. And you do not have to make as big arrows as I am. I don't know why I'm going crazy with my arrow size. You just need to draw 4 of these. Like that. As fast as I did. Moodle will be harder for me to get to at this moment because for me to see Moodle, I'll have to do a few things, but I'll get to it. You can why don't you just send me a private message? It might be easier. I can check your private message to me in Blackboard if you want. If not, I'll have to get to it when we have a little bit of a break, okay? All right, so we're going to look at 4 types of slope. So I'm trying to do this for you guys now. I don't know if you've noticed that. I'm sort of putting like headings with every kind of page of notes that we're taking. And it might be a good idea for you to write those down. So then when I say, okay, what are types of slopes? And you're looking at your notes and you have all these drawings everywhere. You're like, I don't know where they are. So, but if you have this heading, you're like, oh, here are the 4 types of slopes, right? So it might be a suggestion for you guys to be doing that. Okay, so we just learned one today, just now. One that goes straight up and down. This is undefined. So you guys just learned that one. And then we have this one, which we talked about. Okay, and that's a horizontal. Horizontal. And this is where slope equals 0. Okay. And then we've seen the other 2. We have one that does this. And what kind of slope is that? I'm not looking for a name of it, but when we're like figuring out the actual slope, it is one starts with a P, and then what color am I missing? I'll do gray. And then this one starts with an N. What kind of slope? Yeah, positive and negative. So this would be a positive slope. And this would be a negative slope. That's a V. Yeah, I'm going to erase that. I'm going to make that a little nicer. There we go. Positive slope. Yeah, so those are the 4 that you guys have actually seen, which is really good. One goes up and one goes down. Yeah, so this guy, this one right here, he's going up towards a positive direction. And then this one here is going down in the negative direction. So that's why it's called negative. Goody gumdrops. Just chicken. You guys are good. So this is not important using a ruler or anything like that. It's just basically making sure you understand what the lines look like. Okay. All right, we are going to do one more together, and then I'm going to get you guys to do a couple here. All of your head motions are always backwards from what we are seeing. I know. And for me, it's there's a slight delay from, like, I can see what you guys are seeing, and there's a slight delay, so it's kind of weird hearing my voice say something, and then a split second later, I can see me actually doing it, so it's kind of funny. Okay. Are you making fun of me, Belle? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Ready? Let's draw. So, I want you to put this one at 1, 2, 3, and 7. 3 and 7. I got a pocket full of sunshine. Okay. And then, that's it. Now what I want you to do, I'm going to tell you the slope. If my head is going through this, your heads are going to go through this. Okay. I want you to draw 3 more dots on here. Okay? So you know there's a point there, and I want you to take that slope, and I want you to draw 3 more points. See what you guys get for that. So remember, it could be rise over run, but if we're running out of space on our graph, we can probably do 1 more rise, but now we just have to go the opposite way. Okay, so this one is easy. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's easy. Okay, now I want you to try to do a couple in the other direction. All right. What am I doing? Oh yeah, and then I want you to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, like so. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and so on and so forth. So what this allows you to do, as long as you know where one point is, it allows you to figure some more out, and then you can draw your line like so. Okay. It's doubling because math is awesome, that's why. Oh, I love it. Okay, so the other thing that you do is, what we've done is, if they've given you 2 points, you subtract the points, find the slope, or you count and get the slope. So we've done a couple of those already. Okay, are we good? I'm going to move on. I'm going to get you guys to do a couple here. Okay. So what I want you to do, looking at this picture, I'm going to get you to find the slope of this line. And this line, when you look at it, you can't just put a dot anywhere and calculate it, because guess what? If Magical Merle, if you can just zoom in here, I'm going to show you this spot here. It's going to be very hard for me to use that as a point on the line to try to count or to use it to subtract, because it is not in a perfect vertice position. So that could be that could be 2.5, it could be 2.4, like negative 2.5, negative 2.4, it could be negative 2.43. I don't know what that is. So you don't want to pick a point on the line unless it crosses at a vertice. So what I've done for you guys is helped you out to see where it actually crosses the vertice. So it's right there. So I'm going to give you the coordinate just in case it's too small for you guys. So that's going to be 2 and negative 1. And this one is 5 and negative 5. So I'm going to give you guys a minute, and what I want you guys to do is find the slope of that line. Okay, go ahead. we are back. All right. So what you guys should have done there is you could have done some counting, or you could have done the subtraction technique. And get used to the subtraction technique, guys, because sometimes you're not going to have a graph. And what's the point of, if there's no graph, going and drawing it and then counting when you can just do the subtraction technique? So, but because we have a graph, why not? Let's use it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So slope is going to be down -4, which is negative. And then 1, 2, 3, and that's over positive, so it's going to be -4/3. You will see it most likely like this, guys, with a negative here, like that. So that means that the negative, I could go positive and then to the negative, positive to the negative, or I can go down to the negative over to the positive. So it just allows you to draw it either way. Don't forget the negative. Bad, bad, bad. Yeah. All right. That is that. So now what you've done is everything that we've worked on, we're now going to just give it a kind of a formula, like giving it like a name. So the work that we've done, I'm just going to show you what that actually looks like as a generic with variables, and then use those variables to plug in the numbers. So it's not going to be anything new. It's just going to take what we did with the subtraction technique and showing it this way. So in this case, I'm not going to draw this. What I want you guys to do, or what we're going to do together, is figure out the slope. So just a reminder, slope is going to be, it's rise, right? So the rise, I'm going to write rise over run just so you guys know what I'm doing. So because it is the rise, that is always the y vertice. So I'm going to highlight this in yellow, and I'm going to take and highlight that yellow for you guys. So that's going to be 4 subtract 8. And remember, we discussed it doesn't matter which one is which, it's still in the end going to get the same answer. So that's the rise, and the run is always the vertical, or sorry, the horizontal going along the x-axis. And so that's going to be the green. And so that's going to be, and whatever you start with, so I started with the the first point. That means for the next one I have to start with that one as well. I can't start, oops. I can't go mixy and be all crazy like. Can't be crazy. Okay. And then you just figure this out. So 4 minus 8 is -4, and 1 minus 7 is -6. We know likey. We know like it. So we're going to divide that by 2, and we get -2. Oh, sorry, the negatives disappear, right? Because negative divided by negative is a positive, and if we divide that, we get 2/3. So the slope of this line is 2/3. So if you were to draw this out, you would have 1 and 4 here. You would have 6, 7, and 8, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that would be your line. So then what I could do now is I can actually, now that I know the slope, I can put some more points on the line. I can go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, make a song like a pocket full of sunshine, and then you can continue the line from there. So even if they only give you partial drawn line, once you figure out the slope, you can continue it. So that could be a question where they say, okay, here's the line, find the slope, and draw some more points on the line. Or not necessarily draw the points, what would be a couple more points on the line? So you would go, oh, here's 1 point, and that is 1, 2, that is -2 and 1, 2. Another point on the line would be -2 and 2. If they say, give us 2 points on the line, you would be like, okay, it is -5 and 0. Okay, so that would be a very legit question that they would ask you, saying, tell me 2 more points on the line. You would actually have to draw the line and figure out where those points are. Okay, so does that make sense to everybody, how to find some more points on the line by using slope? Are we good? Anyone confused with that? Has anyone got a pocket full of sunshine? All right, good. So, so now this part here, I'm just going to now take what you just did here. So I'm just going to show you again. What we just did here, and I'm going to do this in this color. What you just did here, now what we're going to do is now make that general statement. general formula give us some stuff like this. So if I did, let's see, what do I want to do here with you? Okay, we're going to do this. So I have a slope. I'm going to give you some numbers here. And so actually I'm going to do this. So point number 1 is 64 and 81. Crazy, I'm using big numbers. Double digits, Miss Mac, crazy. And they're over 50, holy. And 73 and 76. So they give us these 2 points and they're like, find the slope. So you're like, you know what? I got this. I'm not going to draw it. You're like, I got this. I'm going to take the y's. I'm going to subtract them. So you go 81, subtract 76. And then you take the x's and you subtract those. What did I start with? 80. So 64 subtract 73. Just give you a few seconds to catch up with that. Okay. And then, of course, you do all the math and all that fun stuff, and you get 5 over 9. And this is a negative, so we're going to put a negative there. So then I'm just going to show you. You're like, but Miss Mac, what happens if I wanted to do the numbers opposite? So you're like, Miss Mac, what if I did 76 minus 81 and 73 minus 64? And like I said earlier, it does not matter because you are going to eventually get the same thing. Here you're going to have the negative on the top and the 9 on the bottom. But again, the negative usually goes right in the front. So, doesn't matter the order. Just in case you need that. You guys are so quiet. Okay. So, because that doesn't matter, there is a general thing here. So here, I could have said this is point, if I wanted to, I could have called this point 2, and I could have called this point 1. It doesn't matter which one you call point 1 and point 2. Doesn't matter. Because, you ready for this? Here's the formula. It is going to be m equals y with a little 2, it's called a subscript, subtract y1 over x to the subscript 2 minus x to the subscript 1. What you guys just did over here is exactly what that formula says. It's the exact same thing, but instead of actually knowing the numbers, we don't know what the numbers are, so we use variables. That's what that is. Just making sure you guys have time to write this down. Subscript is these little things. So like an exponent is a number that goes above like that, like squared and stuff. And a subscript is going to be a number like the 2 and the 1 that goes below it. When you guys get into probably more chemistry 11, you're going to see a lot more subscripts like H2O. I'm just going to write this for funsies. H2O, that's a subscript. And you'll see that a lot in chemistry and stuff like that. Carbon monoxide actually has ones. So just like we're lazy in math, we're lazy in the math that goes into science too. There's just a whole whack for laziness everywhere. All right, so I want to explain what this is. M is slope, and you're going to need to get used to that. So whenever I say find M on any of the worksheets or anything like that, that means find the slope. So M is always means slope. Don't ask me why. It probably means a Latin word and starts with the letter M and they made it M or something, okay? If you understand the y2 minus y1, you don't have to write this down, but I'm going to just go, this is always this is the rise, and this is always the vertical. Okay, this is just reminding you guys about the stuff that we've been doing in case you need that. And the x, this is the run, and this is always the horizontal. And the horizontal is always along the x-axis. That's why it uses x's. Okay? give you a second with that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a question, and I want you to start by writing this formula down. You're going to have to get used to writing this formula down, so you might as well start writing it and then get that practice going. So I want you to start by writing just the generic with the variables formula, and then sub in the numbers, and I want you to find the slope. All right, can I switch screens? Caitlin T, it looks like you're permanently typing. You've been like typing for like 5 minutes. I don't know, it's really weird. All right. Right, here we go. So I want you guys, I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes, and I want you guys to find the slope of A and find the slope of B. Please write down the formula for both of them. Okay, just get used to write the formula. The more you write it, the more you memorize it, and then you'll remember it from moving on. All right, so 2 minutes, go. Okay, so I'm just going to write the formula for both of them because I know that's what it is, and I might as well just get it done and over with. And now I'm going to sub in the numbers. So remember that y is looking at the y coordinate of an ordered pair. So this one is going to be m equals 7 subtract 1, sorry, negative 7 subtract 1. And then I'm going to look at the x's, which is always the first one, and it's going to be 4 subtract 11. Doesn't matter if you did the numbers differently. No, it doesn't. You're going to get the same answer. So negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8 over negative 7, which is basically 8 over 7. So m equals 8 over 7, or slope equals 8 over 7. Thumbs up. How many of you guys got that one before I showed the answer? Thumbs up. How many of you guys got that? I got one. Or check marks. Yeah, good. What do you guys got? What do you guys got? Good. Okay. So the ones that didn't get that, hopefully you're like, oh, I see what I did wrong. Maybe it was just a math error. Math errors are fine. That's totally fine if you do a little math error. At least you got the process. So this one, m equals negative 3 subtract, 5 subtract negative 13 over negative 3 subtract 7, and that means plus, so that means 18 over negative 10. We have to reduce. Always remember that you have to reduce. So I'm going to put the negative kind of in the middle, and it's going to be 9 over 5, like so. All right. giving me a check mark saying, made mistakes, got it now, or I got it, not a problem, or I see what we're doing. Give me a check mark if that's sort of where you're at with this. Check. You could have made a mistake, you could have made a math mistake, all that kind of stuff. I have a question, but it's from like grade 7. What is it? Go ahead, Alexis. Are you asking if I have a pocket full of sunshine? I do. I'm assuming. Oopsies. Is Alexis typing? I thought you had a question, Alexis. You're not typing. What's going on? Did you teach us a little bit of rise over run? I maybe might have. I don't know. I might have thrown the words out there or something like that. So we might have done. We didn't do like this stuff. But I might have said it goes rises this much, and you know, I might have. That's what I do. Okay, so this one, we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to have something we don't know, and it's going to stay a variable. So we're going to look at this. So here's the one we're going to do together. Slope of a line is 5/8. I smell really good food here. All of a sudden I'm getting like wafts of food. Do you smell that, Magical Merle? Starting to get that. And passes through, this is going to be kind of like a question you get. So that's why I'm writing this out, making sure you got this. Passes through the points 1 and 2 and 33 and A. What? Find A. So this question is saying, I know the slope, I know how it does this. Here's one point, here's another point, but I'm not quite sure what that Y is. I'm not sure what that is. So they're like, find Y, or find the A. Find that one thing that we don't know. So here is how you do this. You use the same formula we just used, okay? So you might, you probably learned it in grade 9 for sure. I guarantee it in grade 9, probably touched on it in grade 8. So write the formula. M equals y to the 2 minus y subscript 1, x subscript 2 minus x subscript 1. All right. So now what we're going to use this formula with is we're going to plug in. So it's just like when you have an input, you input for x and you find y. So same kind of idea. We're going to input where it all works. So first off, this is the slope. That goes where m is. So we're going to put 5/8 here. Okay. Then point number 1, we're going to put those numbers in for y2, x2, which is totally fine. So I'm going to put the 2 here, and I'm going to put the 1 down here. Okay? And then I'm doing colors just to help you guys see things a little bit better. And then this one, we're going to put in the second spot. So it's going to be subtract A, we don't know what that is, and then we're going to go subtract 33. So what we're going to do here, remember when we're always solving for a variable, we need one thing we don't know. Well, we don't know A, and we're going to solve for that. Before it was M, we didn't know what M was. We put the numbers in, we figured out M. Now we've put all the numbers in, now we just need to figure out the A. What it's just showing is point number 2 and point number 1. If I wrote it, you don't have to write this down, guys, but if I wrote like the second point y, if I'm saying in the second coordinate, the y of the second coordinate, that looks like I'm saying 2 times y, so they don't want you to do that. When you put the subscript, it's like putting a little note saying, oh, no, we don't mean this, we just mean that it's the second point of y. So it's not like, it's not this, we're not squaring something. All it is saying something on the bottom saying, I just want you to note that it's the second point we're looking at. That's all it kind of means. Okay? All right. So when we do this, what we need to do now is I'm going to show you guys this really, you might have seen this in grade 9 math, but I'm going to show you this kind of again. When you have on the other side of equal sign, and you have these fractions like this, and there's nothing else after it, it's just basically 2 sets of fractions, you can do something called cross multiply. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply 8 times the top of the other side, and you're going to multiply the 1 minus 33 over onto this side. And what that does, this is like a shortcut, this gets rid of the denominators. That's basically what that does, okay? So when we do that, we end up getting 5, and we're going to multiply by 1 subtract 33, but I'm not going to write 1 subtract 33. Why would I do that? I might as well do the math. So I'm going to erase this, and 1 subtract 33 is negative 32. Why would I want to write 1 minus 33 and times 5 by both those numbers? I might as well join the like terms together. And then this is going to be 8, but this one I can't join these two together because I have a constant, which is the number 2, and I have a variable. I can't join those two together. They're not common terms. So that one has to stay like that. So then what you do is you do the multiplying. So hopefully you guys is everyone okay with that step? It's just whoop, cross multiply, whoop. There's a long version, like I always do that, but hopefully that's okay. So when you multiply this out, you get negative 160 equals, and now you're going to go just like the FOIL technique. It's just making sure that you multiply what's on the outside to everything that's on the inside. So here you get 16 subtract 8a. So it looks a little bit nicer. I'm just going to now move up this way, just so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay. And the whole point is always to isolate the variable. And remember, I was kind of mentioning last time, you want to get rid of friends first before family. So same algebra techniques. We're going to get rid of this guy over here and put over this by doing the opposite. Okay. So when you do the opposite here, you get negative 176. And then over here, that cancels out. That was why we did that. And we're left with negative 8a over here. And then what am I going to do to get rid of that negative 8? What am I going to do to get rid of that negative 8? Perfect. I'm going to divide this side by negative 8. And what I do to one side, I do the other. I'm going to divide this side by negative 8. I could divide by just 8, but then I still have that negative there. I would have to do a double thing, so I might as well get it out at the same time. And so we end up negative divided by negative is a positive, so we get 22 equals a. So that missing number, that missing coordinate, that missing y value is 22. So there's nothing really new here. It's just making it look a little different, and it's always taking what you've learned and stretching it. So I know a couple of you guys mentioned to me, well, there was a question on the quiz that you never showed us, because that's what you need to do. You have to be able to, this shows kind of the depth of understanding is, are you able to take that learning and now apply it to just a little bit of a different situation and stretch there? I can't show you every possible option for every single question that could come up here. We could be here forever. But it's just taking, and if you have that understanding of what slope means and what that you're using points, then you can apply it and go, how would I find what A is? And you just still plug stuff in and still figure it out from there. Yes, algebra is my happy place too. Okay. Any questions on this little part here? Okay. So I'm going to get you guys to do one on your own. I'm going to switch over. Yell at me if you need this. So I'm giving you the exact same kind of thing, but now this time A is in the X spot. Okay, so I don't know one of the X coordinates. So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you guys a minute, and I want you to use the slope formula, sorry, and I want you to try to solve for A. Okay, so go ahead, about 1 minute. Are we in? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I started just doing a little bit of work here just to kind of catch up where you're at. So we have, I wrote the formula down and I substituted in and I put little stars and dots showing the colors where those numbers came from, just in case you're not sure. And then over on the side here, I showed you how I now simplified 4 subtract negative 8, it becomes 12. So now I'm going to do that cross multiply technique. So it's going to be 3 times 1 minus a. I can't simplify that anymore, and it's going to be 2 times that 12. Because I simplified the 4 minus negative 8. So hopefully you guys see that. And now I'm just going to multiply by everything here. So I get 3 minus 3a equals 24. And then we start doing our lovely algebra. We have a positive 3. We're going to get rid of the positive 3 by subtracting 3. Point, it disappears, which leaves me negative 3a equals 21. And then divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, a equals negative 7. So if that was the coordinate, it would be negative 7 and negative 8. So that would be the point on the line. Okay? All right. We are going to have a break, and I'm going to get you guys to get started on one of the practice worksheets that you guys have to do. So we're going to do half an hour. We're going to come back at 9:45. So there's going to be a little bit of a break, and I'm going to give you some time to do the work. And what I want you to do is, it's basically going to be what we've been learning, or sorry, 10:45, yes, thanks guys. So it's going to be finding the slope, tell me the slope, counting, here's some points, tell me the slope, and then this stuff is, there's something missing, tell me what the missing thing is. Do not do, I'm not going to make you guys do 5C. And I'm not going to make you do 5D. Okay? So 5C and 5D, just write that down on your piece of paper. You don't have to do 5C or 5D. And then there's some graphs below there to help you with some graphing. Okay? So this is a practiced one. So you guys only do what you want to do. You can do a couple of each questions. And then, you know, if there's still some more time left, you can do a few more and practice them. But definitely do a couple of each section. Make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, so I'll give you guys till 10:45, and then we'll come back and continue on. All right, see you guys in a while, and I'm available if you need me. All right, welcome back everybody. We are here, we are live, we are ready to go. Okay, so any questions on the sheet before we continue on? I think there was a couple that I checked Blackboard like a couple minutes ago. There wasn't anything, but I think it's just popped up. So question, Alexis, I know you had one. Can you tell me what number it was? Or if anyone has another question, let me know what it is. If you can pop into the school, we can print it off or try another place or see when someone else can print off for you. 5A. That's just like the questions we were doing, Jess. So that's exactly like this. So 5A is doing this stuff. We did 2 questions. We did one where we didn't know this in the Y spot, and then you guys did one on your own. We didn't know this in the X spot, same question. Okay. Oh, good, Alexis, that's good. Question 2. Determine the domain. You have to find the domain and range. Do you not understand that to find the domain and range, or you're asking what the answer is? I'm not going to tell you the answer. Okay, so so Alexis, just so you know, you need to do all these other worksheets that have to do a domain and range before you can do this. So this is a whole new unit where we've already done the unit on domain and range. You need to finish those worksheets and do those before this. So you're going to have to look back at the notes on domain and range. So I'm not going to go over that just because I know you need to do that. Okay, so that's why I think you're coming in for help, right? So that would be good. Okay. All right, good. Okay. So now what we're going to do is start moving towards this formula. So we found slope, but there's always a little bit more to it than that when we're trying to find slope, to find the equation of a line and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you this equation here. So we're going to go y equals 2x plus 1, okay? And there's one way of doing this. I'm not going to make us do the work for this. You guys are fully capable of understanding how to do this. But oh wow, I have to reset. That's just pathetic. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is what we would have done is put in 0 for x, got 1. Put in -2 for x, did all the work, got -3. Put in -4, got -7. And so just randomly picking numbers, put 2 and 5 and 4 and 9. So we did this in many previous units. This is old algebra stuff. It's just input and output kind of stuff. So we would have done, so if we have this equation and you have to plot this on the line, you could do the x and y intercept where it crosses and put 0 in for x, find y, put 0 in for y, find x. That's what we did in the previous unit, and then you can draw your line. You can do a table of values like this, pick random numbers, and then plot them on the graph, okay? So when you do that, so then so then we just plot the lines. We go 0 and 1. You get -2 and -1, 2, 3, -3. You get -4 and -7, like that. You get 2 and 5, and you get 4 and 9er. 1, 2, 3, 9. Like that. Okay, and because we know that this is a linear relation, that it is going to create a line. So that is going to be the line that goes like this. And you always put arrows at the end unless it tells you it stops. Okay, and in this case, I know some of you guys were confused on the quiz with that. We talked about if there is no endpoints and it's a line that's on an angle, it's all real numbers. It's going to keep going forever this direction, keep going this direction forever, like down and up. It's going to keep doing that, and it's going to be all real numbers. So that's when it's a line like this. If it stops at a certain spot, then it can't be all real numbers. It does have an ending point, or it stops on this way, or if it stops going this way. Okay. So I just want to point this, just show you guys this. So this equation right here, when we look at this equation, we're going to look at it now on the graph perspective. Where does it cross the y-axis? Where does it cross the y-axis? My dots aren't perfect, but where did it cross the y-axis? Where do you guys see it crossing? It crosses the y at 1, right? So this is where it crosses right here, okay? So this is called, we learned this last day, this is the y-intercept. Okay, so that's the y-intercept. Now, when we look at this, we can also find the slope of this. So all you have to do is take one point and another point and count or do the subtraction method. So rise over run is 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's -4, and it goes 1, 2 to the left, which is -2, so it's basically 4 over 2. If you reduce it, you get m equals 2. Okay, so looking at the graph, we have the slope of 2 and the y-intercept is at 1. So y-intercept equals 1. I want you now to look at the equation. Do you see those numbers in that equation? Do you see the 2 and do you see the 1? Okay, I know it's kind of a rhetorical question. So when we have an equation that looks similar to this, you can actually look at the equation and know right away what the slope is and right away what the y-intercept is. So here, slope, slope. Y-intercept, which is right there, is 1, is 1. So this gets us to now another generic formula that we can use, which is really cool. So the stuff that you learned about the y-intercept last lesson, or like last unit, and the stuff you learned about slope this unit are now put into a generic formula. So here is the generic formula. Y equals mx plus b. Formula, formula. And you're going to hear this a ton. Y equals mx plus b. You're just going to start getting used to it. It's going to roll off your tongue like lava. Not like lava. Lava's hot. So m, you guys know is the slope. We've talked about that already. We know that slope. This is the only new one. This is the y-intercept. And if you look at the other example, then it does show that if you look at this example, the 1 here, 1 there matches the 1 here on the graph, and that's the y-intercept. All right, so M stands for y-intercept. B, again, I have no idea why it's B, stands for M stands for slope. B stands for y-intercept. What do you think that x and y is? What do you think that x and y would be? I want you guys to think about this. What would the x and what would the y be? And notice I'm saying it in a certain way. I'm not saying what's the y and what's the x. I'm saying what's the x and y. What do you guys think that would be? Come on, guys. Guesses. Let's go. What would that be? Think back to what we did with slope 1. So think back to when we were doing these formulas. Think back to when we were doing this. What do you think that would be? It could be the rise or run. Rise or run is the slope, which is the m. So nice try with that. What else could it be? When we were plugging it in to find the slope, what was the x and y? What were those things that we were plugging in when we were using that formula? When we were trying to find slope. Nice try, domain and range, but what does the domain and range always look at? So let's look back at this. When we were doing this part right here, what were the x and y's? Where did we get those numbers from? What were they? What were the x and y's there? That is the x and y axis, but what is that called? Look at the word in front. It's a point on the line, guys. Remember, this was a point on the line and this was a point on the line, right? Yeah, it's the coordinates. So when we go back here, I'm going to do blue. This and this will most likely be filled in by a point that's actually on that line. So it is possible that you'll be given the M and the B, and you have to try to find a point on the line, or you're given a point on the line and you're trying to find M or B or something like that. So this formula is just like any algebraic thing that we've been learning up till now. There are 4 variables there. At some point it's going to ask you to find Y and give you all the other 3. At some point it's going to ask you to find m, find the slope, and it's going to give you the other 3. Some point it's going to ask you to find the x point, and they're going to give you the other 3, or some point it's going to ask you to find b, and it's going to give you the other 3. So there's 4 possible things to find out here. By giving you 3 pieces of information, you have to find that 4th piece. So it's just like any algebraic thing. You're looking for one thing. Okay? So everyone okay? So this is a really important formula that you guys need to know, remember, use, think about. So you got the one for m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then you got this one. This is called the slope-intercept. Slope-intercept formula. It's called the slope-intercept. Okay? So we're going to do this one together. So I'm going to give you, so what I want you to tell me is what is the slope of this one and what is the y-intercept. And intercept we just abbreviate with I and T. So if I look at this formula, what would be the slope of this one? What would m be in this case? So remember that the formula originally looks like this, y equals mx plus b. So what would be the slope? How many people agree with Jess that it is -4? Use a check mark if you agree with her. Would that be the slope? You getting some support, Jess? Okay, good. Thank you. It is -4. Okay, so the slope is m. And remember I told you m is slope, and you got to remember that m is slope. So it is -4. What is the y-intercept? Exactly. Okay, so that's the formula here. What is the y-intercept on this one? What is the y-intercept? Good. How many people agree with Alexis and Dean? The slope, the y-intercept is 7. Put check marks if you agree with them. Come on. Got to have more agreeers here. Got a few. All right, so they are correct. It's always the B, and it is 7. Okay, so you can look at the equation and figure out the slope and intercept from that. So now sometimes it's going to look a different form. So this is y equals mx plus b is the slope intercept form. Okay, that's what it looks like. That's what you get to so that you can easily find these 2 things. When it's written in this form, you can see the slope, you can see the y-intercept super quick. Sometimes it's going to look a little different, and you've seen these before. Sometimes it's going to look like this. It's going to look like 3x subtract 4y equals, oh sorry, not equals, minus 12 equals 0. You might get equations that look like this. Well, that if I asked you right now to find the slope and the y-intercept, you're like, I can't do it, right? But you actually can. What you need to do is try to get it to look like the other one. So our goal is to get it to look like y equals mx plus b. And again, it's just algebra. It's just moving things around and trying to get it to work that way. So I'm going to show you how this works. So what we need is y on one side. We need all the other stuff on that side. So I could put the y over here and move it over and to get it positive and then keep the other stuff, or I could, there's a couple ways you can do this. So you can move this guy, the 3x and the -12 over to the other side so the y's in front. So I'm moving 2 things. Or what I could do is just move the y over to the other side. Because is this true? 6 equals y and y equals 6. Is that the exact same thing? Is that the same thing, or am I saying something different by putting the y on a different side? Yeah, it is the same thing, right? So it doesn't matter what side I have the y on as long as you're doing your process properly. So because I'm lazy, I don't want to move 2 things. I'm just going to move 1. So I'm going to, it's minus 4y. I'm going to add 4y. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay? The only reason I'm doing that, if you want to do it the other way and make it less confusing for you, you totally can. Okay? Totally up to you. So now when I do this, I get 3x. This cancels out. That was the whole point because I'm shifting it over. subtract 12 equals 4y. What you can do now is just do a little shuffle. So if you want to make it look like y equals mx plus b, you could make it go 4y equals 3x minus 12. You can just reverse it that way if you want, just to make it make sense, but up to you. Now the problem here is that it's not just y equals, it's 4y. I got to get rid of that 4. So we're just going to divide by 4 over here, and then you have to divide by 4 to everything else in here. You have to make sure you do that, okay? Because if I'm making an equivalent fraction, what you do to one, you have to do to everything. So if I'm dividing by 4 there, I have to divide everything by 4, all right? So then I get here, I get my y, because those cancel out, they turn into 1. We're lazy, we don't put the 1 in. So now I have this. Actually, I'm going to do it, I'm going to pretend I did reverse it like this, okay? So let's pretend that, here, no, I'll just do it this. I'm just going to, don't worry, you guys probably have it all right on your thing, but don't worry about it. I'm going to reverse it just so you guys can, we'll have it in the same form. So that's totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. So now these cancel out, I get y. 3 divided by 4 is a fraction, so it's 3 over 4x minus, and then you have to reduce 12 divided by 4 is 3. So now it originally looked weird to us. When I said to you, try to find the slope and try to find the y-intercept, you're like, I can't find it from that. But now, by doing just a little bit of movement, guess what? It is now in slope-intercept form, and there is my m, and there is my y. Okay? So now you know where to put a dot where it crosses the y-intercept, and then you go up 3 over 4, up 3 over 4, and then you can go down 3 over, you can just kind of do that, so you can move like this, something like that. Okay? Are we good? Everyone good? Everyone see what we did there? We just did some algebra with some graphing stuff, put it together, because math is awesome. All right, you guys are really quiet. I need you guys to stay with me here. Stay with me, okay? All right, so I want you guys to do this question, please. So what I have here is I want you to do all 3 of these, and I want you to write it in slope-intercept form. So this question A, I've given you m and b. I want you to plug it into the formula and tell me what the formula would look like. Here I've given it to you again, plug it in. And here I've given you the graph. I want you to figure out how you would determine the slope-intercept from this graph and write it there. Okay? So I'm going to give you guys, it should take you about 1 minute because A and B are going to be super quick. You just plug the stuff into the formula. You don't have to do any work. C will just be a little bit. Okay, so I'll give you guys 1 minute, we'll come back. Okay, so all you have to do is plug this in. Y stays y. You put -2 over 5 here, you put an x, and you go -7. That's all you have to do. Plug that in. And then y equals 0x plus 12. Well, if it's 0 times x, it's 0. It disappears, so it just means y equals 12. So what kind of line is that? If y is 12, so I go to the y, I go up to 12, what kind of line is it? What kind of line is that? If it's just y is 12, that's it. What kind of line is that? Yeah, it's horizontal and has no slope, right? That's why it's 0. There's no slope. See? It all comes together. Okay, now this one. Let's look at this one. I know right here, that's the y-intercept. That's where it crosses. So this is going to be -3, but I don't know the slope. Can we figure out the slope? Yes, we can. So you could have counted, or you could have just done the subtraction. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're going to have 5. It's going to be -5. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's no reducing needed there. So you just put an x in there, n equals y. Okay, so that is using just a couple different ways of trying to slot in and trying to create the slope-intercept from that. All right, so any questions on that little bit there? Okay, are we good? All right, so now we get the graphing part. I'm not going to stay on this too much, but if I had y equals -2/5x minus 7. All you have to do, like I mentioned earlier, I kind of visually showed it with my hands, you take this and go, I can actually draw this now. Okay? So what I do is I'm going to start with the intercept. Start with B. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Dean. Yeah, so you're going to start with B. So I'm going to go to 0 and -7. It means it crosses the y at that spot. So it's going to cross the y down here. And then all I have to do is look at what the slope was, and it's -2, 5, or 5, or 2, -5, whatever you do. So it's going to be, I'm going to go down 2, 1, 2, and over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a dot there, and then I'm out of space, so I'm not going to go the other direction. Instead of down 2, I'm going to go up 2 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it needs to be a straight line. That's how you can tell if you're doing this correctly. If I all of a sudden went down over this way, that's not a straight line, so I know I'm wrong, right? So then I go also up 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, I lost count. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and right there. And it's going to be a straight line like that. So that's how you use that formula to draw a picture from that. And then the next question is, okay, I'll give you a couple of seconds, make sure you guys get that. So all you have to do is you look at this and go, do I know where there's any dots on this? Yes, I do. It's the y-intercept. That means x is 0, and it means it goes down to the y at -7. And then you just go doop, 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 and start drawing your little thing. Okay? So now the next question is, okay, if I have this line, I want to know if, where's my formula? Y equals -4x plus 3. Okay, so let's say I have this formula. I want to know, does point, what do they give me? 3 and -9 fall on the line. So I have this line. If you've drawn it or not drawn it, it doesn't matter. If you've drawn it, it's really cool because then you just look and go, yay, it does, or no, it doesn't. But let's say there is no graph. Let's pretend there is no graph, and you're like, how do I figure this out? Remember I said what the x and y are? It's going to be some kind of point. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sub in that 3 and -9, I'm going to sub those in and see if it works. If it works, then it means it's on the line. If it doesn't work, it means it's not on the line. So I'm going to put in the -9 for y, and then I'm just going to rewrite the slope, and then I'm going to put in the 3 for the x. Okay? So I'm just checking. I know how to draw the line from that equation. I know the slope is -4. I know the y-intercept is 3. I know those things. And now they're asking me, well, is 3 and -9 on this line? I need to know if that works. So all you do is plug it in and make sure that, like algebra, one side of the equal sign is balanced with the other side of the equal sign. So this stays -9. This becomes -12 plus 3. I get -9 equals -9, and it does. And then if I had a picture, there it is. So if I actually had a graph of it, you could look at it. If you didn't have a graph, then you just look at the stuff. Yeah, and it totally works, right, Caitlin T? Totally, totally works, which is awesome. All right. All right, so everyone okay there? Good. Everyone got a chance to write that? So sometimes you're going to have a picture and they're going to say, does it fall in a line? You just have to look. And then sometimes, most of the time, they're not going to give you a picture. That's just way too easy. So they'll probably give it to this. All right, so with this question, what we're going to do is try to determine if 12 and negative 21 is on there. So we could actually totally do this. Yeah. We could actually totally do this next question here without even drawing anything, okay? And sometimes that's a time saver. So if you can just do the math and plug the math in, you don't have to draw it, then don't draw it. It's just a lot more extra time to try to make it work that way. Sometimes they might want you to do that, so, and sometimes they might not want you to, okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to do this one as if we don't have anything to go off of. Let's say we don't have a graph, we haven't drawn anything, we don't want to waste our time doing that. So we write the equation, the slope-intercept form, and now I'm going to sub in my numbers. So I put in negative 21 for the y, and I'm putting in 12 for the x. And then again, you guys are going, oh my gosh, Miss Mac, there's totally like a fraction, and I don't know what to do with the fraction. But guess what? What makes this really cool, remember this is over 1, and you can simplify fractions as long as it's a numerator and denominator. Doesn't matter which fraction it is if they're multiplying. So look what happens. Okay, so watch what happens here. 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into that 3 times. So guess what? Now we've actually eliminated the fraction. It's now gone. So we just simplified. And that again, I think we did that in Unit 1, and you probably would have done that in previous grades as well. So now we rewrite this. We get negative 21 equals. Now what I have to do here is I have to do this times this. Okay, so we have negative 5 and a 3. So when I multiply those together, I get negative 15, subtract 6. And negative 21 on this side, negative 21 on this side. So yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. That is a point on the line. And then if you wanted to, you graph it. So I'm going to go to my negative 6 here, and then it's going to be down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't go down 5, so I'm going to go, and then it's down 5 over 4, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, put a dot there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now guess what? My graph doesn't even allow me to do that. So that is why it's really important that you are able to do it with the formula, because I can draw this, looks great, but my graph, in the numbers I'm using, isn't allowing me to show that point 12 and negative 21. So then you're like, oh my gosh, what do? I can't draw it, I can't see if it's on there. That's when you use the formula. That's when you use the formula. All right, so remember I said sometimes you're going to have to find the y, sometimes you're going to have to find the m, sometimes you're going to have to find the x, sometimes you're going to have to find the b. So that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to solve for the b. So let's say, for example, the question is this, or the equation is y equals negative 3x plus b. Oh my goodness, I don't know what the y-intercept is. There's no graph to look at. Okay, all they've told us is there is a point on the line that has this coordinate. So remember I said there are 4 things we don't know. They will give us 3 of them. The one thing we don't know is what we're trying to figure out. So guess what? We have our m. There's our m. They've given us our x, and they've given us our y. So guess what? This is the only one we don't know, which is awesome. Okay, so there's one unknown. So we're just going to sub in. So y is negative 3, and then I rewrite my negative 3, and I'm multiplying it by the negative 4, and then I write the b that I don't know. There's not going to be a negative 4 in the equation. It means this is for the x. So what this says is this is a point on this line. So here's the line, there's the line, and they're saying this line has this point on it. I want you to tell me to find b. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So now you just do the math. Typical algebra stuff, -3 times -4. And then we need to get b by itself. We have to isolate the variable. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So here, this cancels out, which is what I wanted. So I get b, and here I get -15. So now we just found it. They might then say, write the slope-intercept formula. They might want you to put it back in. So you would just rewrite this, and then you would put it in. Because you figured it out, they might ask you to now show what the actual form is. So they might actually get you to do that. So sometimes, like I said, there's 4 things you don't know. At some point, they're going to ask you to find one of those missing things, either the x, the m, the y, or the b. They're going to ask you to find that. So you just plug in the 3 things you know, and then you can go from there. Okay? And the same goes for the m. Whoops. Where's the one I wanted you to do? So same thing goes for the m. So I'm going to get you guys to do this one. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds. I'll give you a minute. We'll do a minute. I'm going to get you guys to do this one. So same thing what I'm doing here. Okay? What I did is I had something I didn't know. I didn't know the b. I put in the 3 things I did know and solved for b. I am now going to give you 3 things, but I'm not going to give you m, and you just have to try to figure out m. Okay? So here's the equation, is y equals mx minus 7. I didn't give you m. So I want you to find m if it passes through this point. Sometimes they'll say point 15, 12. Sometimes they'll just say it passes through 15, 18 as a coordinate. Okay, so 1 minute, I'll get you guys to solve that one. So this question, y equals mx minus 7. They're like, hey, got some points for you. So I'm like, perfect. I put the 18 in there. Still don't know the m, but I know this is 15, and they're multiplying. You put in brackets if you want. You don't have to because it's a letter and a number. So then I now have to get m by itself. You always get rid of the friends first, or the opposite of BEDMAS. You start with subtracting and adding. Do that. I get 25 equals 15m. Usually put the number in front. I just showed it there afterwards because that's where the x is. And now I'm going to divide by 15. Now we end up getting m, sorry, I'm just going to move up here. M equals 25 over 15. What's the problem? What's the problem with that? We don't like that. What's the problem? Talk to me, gooses. What's the problem? Perfect. Thanks, Caitlin T. It's not reduced. Good. Thank you. It's not in lowest form. So both of them have a common factor, which is 5. So m equals 5 over 3. Boom! You guys are solved for m. Fabulous. Okay. So this is using a lot of algebra, which is really cool because I love algebra. But it's doing stuff on lines and graphs and all that kind of stuff, but it's using that algebra technique. Like I said, algebra is going to infiltrate everything. It's that awesome thing that is able to go with anything you need to do. All right, that is that. So you guys have that practice lesson 1 that you worked on at the break. Again, because it's practice, you guys just do what you want to do to practice what you feel you need to. Then I've also posted, can I go to space? Okay, this is also practice. Lesson number 2 is also practice. So both of these, practice, practice. Both of these are practice. You just do what you feel you need to do. When you feel that you have a good grasp of all of this, we have lesson 1 and lesson 2 for you to hand in to me for next week, next Monday. Okay? So yeah, so that is where you're at. You guys, I'm just going to show it this way. I'm not going to make it big. You guys have a quiz on this stuff. So just basically understanding the formula y equals mx plus b, understanding how to find slope, and how to probably make sure it's going to be online. So you're not going to have to draw, but you're going to have to recognize, is that what it should look like on a graph and stuff like that. So just it's not going to be overly stressful, hopefully. So yeah, so you got a quiz next day. And coming up, just do the 2 practice, do what you need to do, hand in the 2 for Monday, quiz on Monday. And next week, we're opening up the quiz starting Monday. So I'm going to have a little chit chat with some of you guys. We're going to stop the recording part of it, but we're going to stay in live. Some of you, if I don't say your name, you're welcome to go enjoy doing some math, a little bit more math today, and then have a good weekend, and I'll see you Monday. And the ones that I say your name, I'm just going to have to get you guys to stay behind just for a little bit.